Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, as somebody that has attended more conferences than you guys have eaten hot dinners, as they would say here in the UK, and even dabbled with online courses, there are a few trends that I've noticed, and equally frustrations. Number one, of course, is conference hangover. You know, you spend a fortune to attend a conference and travel for miles, hundreds of miles, even thousands of miles. And you come back inspired and wanting to tell people about all these great things that you learn, only to be told by your boss, get back in your box and carry on as you were. Equally, online courses have problems too. You pay your money, are given loads of information, and then you sit around scratching your head thinking, how am I supposed to apply this information? It seems to me that we need a new way of doing things where people walk away from an event or a course with real results, not just ideas and information. This is one reason why I invited Michael Walbert from A3C onto the show today. A3C is an Atlanta-based festival and conference that has recently announced its Creator Complex program, which is another important piece in a 14-year journey dedicated to connecting artists and producers with the creative professionals and music industry experts they need to progress forward. Check this out. Attending this event that consists of artists and producers that won't just walk away with ideas, but will be able to get a headshot, master music, make beats, record music, write a bio, develop a website, optimize their YouTube page, audit their social media, or even just add scratches to their records. Collectively, A3C's partners will also contribute an estimated $100,000 worth of free services and assets to over 500 artists and producers. So it's unsurprising that so many people travel all over the world to attend this event. For me, it's a great story of how tech is bringing the world together and also making a difference, not to mention an incredible story. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Atlanta so we can speak with Michael Walbert from A3C. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. My name is Michael Walbert. I'm the director and partner in the A3C Festival and Conference here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Fantastic. Now, the A3C, like you say, that is an Atlanta-based festival and conference, but can you just set the scene for listeners and tell them exactly what it is, who it's aimed at, and what you believe, or why you believe it's so important for culture?
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there, right? Yeah, just because we do so much, and I think probably answering your question, I can best answer it with kind of the origins of it. I'm born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Grew up on Outkast, grew up on Jeezy and T.I. and hip hop was the music of my youth, and really didn't know outside of that culture, and so that became the kind of culture of my youth, and then after college, just kind of going through the motions here, I came back and actually ended up coincidentally in the music business and helping some friends start a music production company. The origins of what A3C is now really came out of a trip to South by Southwest. And just to be completely blunt, and I'm not, we don't hide that fact that was a instrumental, eye-awakening experience, but also, kind of the catalyst to what we do at A3C. And I'll let you know a little bit more about that in the sense that we took two 15-passenger vans. This is in 2008, when I was managing artists and producers in Atlanta, and did a showcase in South by Southwest, an unofficial showcase. But again, was kind of under the pretext that if you want to break artists or if you want to showcase what you have, South by Southwest was the place to do it. That was kind of our unknowing kind of pretext at the time. And after a 16-hour car ride there and a 16-hour, and a performance or a 2-hour showcase, I had 16 hours to fume on the way home, and just really thought about why we drove hip-hop artists from Atlanta, Georgia to Austin, Texas to showcase hip-hop culture. And that really was like the light bulb in my head, and also I can cuss, I guess, the kind of what the moment. because I was really mad and frustrated because it just felt so unauthentic, and I became really entrenched and excited also about the idea that why doesn't something like this exist for hip hop? Why doesn't hip hop culture have its own experience and event and happening once a year, much like South by Southwest, that has a place for showcases? So kind of answering your second half of your question, who is this for? Initially, it was intended really just for a showcase for up-and-coming artists. We really wanted to provide an authentic platform for artists to first showcase themselves, promote their music, but also to connect and build. We understand that, music doesn't happen coincidentally. These are relationships, much like anything else in the world. To get to the next level in music, you have to have the right relationships. And if you're from a small town, or you're not from Atlanta, or you're from anywhere, there's probably 4 or 5 key markets, but outside of that, it's really hard to kind of break out of those markets. So we thought, what better place than Atlanta to have that experience? So on top of that, we started building a lot more experiences and really started looking at the whole music and hip hop ecosystem, and basically off a platform of, hey, we've got hundreds of artists in town performing. We built a lot of really cool experiences, and I think have one of the best music conferences on the planet, in the A3C conference, which is a 3-day experience. We've built an entire action summit for social justice that's connecting artists and activists. We've created a complex that's just for artists to develop assets for themselves, for their career, that's completely free in the Creator Complex. And then we've built a lot of experiences for, again, the ecosystem. So the booking agents and the managers and the labels and streaming companies and all these different elements that we think the artist is the central key factor, but have ended up building this entire 5-day experience that we think really appeals to anyone that's a creative in hip hop and music, can find something for themselves here. So that's maybe the longest answer you've ever gotten in your podcasting history. But
no, not at all. And I'm fascinated by how much of those ideas, or many of those ideas, came from that 16-hour drive back. Because I think that when we put that smartphone down that we're always staring into, that's when ideas start coming. That's when we start thinking, and our mind starts daydreaming. We start forming these great ideas and great plans. But we don't do that enough anymore. And, that 16-hour drive, that's where it comes from, isn't it? That's where the magic.
Well, think about it. Like, for me, like, plane flights, I make sure to put down my phone, car, long car trips. But, where else do you get time to kind of really ruminate and have, like, extensive creative thought? So I agree completely. But I will correct you on one thing. I wish I was a genius and I could predict 10 years in the future. I had a lot of good ideas. I also had a lot of bad ideas, and I don't speak about those much, but we've tried a lot of things in the past. So this is, what you get today is 10 years of testing and tweaking, right? And I think that's the beauty of kind of organic growth. Like this isn't year one. We've had 14 years and really 10 years since I came on to test and tweak different things. So this is kind of the iPhone 14, right? It's a little bit smoother and photos are better and all that stuff.
Going back to your story then, can you tell me more about that 14-year journey dedicated to connecting artists and producers with creative professionals and music industry experts? My
story is a little bit... And I think the thread throughout everything is DIY and entrepreneurship. We really try to have that at the heart of what we do, whether that's conference content and sessions, mentorship sessions, and the content we produce at the conference and the Creator Complex and even the shows and event. It's really about empowering entrepreneurs and allowing people to do it themselves. And I think that's the creative economy is, there's been such a shift from needing to be a part of a system in music and creating your own system. There's been such a polar shift in you really not needing more than a few folks on your team really make an impact in music. You don't need a giant engine. You don't need a record label. I mean, again, these things play a part in the music industry, and some of them play a very big role, right? But my sweet spot, and I think what I'm passionate about, is entrepreneurship. And again, my story, I actually went to school for this. So I went to USC for entrepreneurship, and that was my, believe it or not, what I studied at school. So when I came back to Atlanta, I started a couple small businesses. I started a kind of niche hot sauce called Hotlanta Hot Sauce. I consulted with some friends. And it was really at that point where I actually, amongst my friend community, sound like a robot. Amongst my friends, I became the guy who started companies, right? Like they're like, yo, Mike. So like when my friends wanted to start a music production company, they hit me up and they were just like, yo, let's grab lunch. We want to start a music production company. Can you help? So my journey was like, I was doing 5 or 6 things when I started music. It wasn't like I wasn't like, yo, I really want to do music. But within 2 or 3 years, I was spending more time around creatives. And to be honest with you, it just really scratched an itch for me, which was just the creativity of it. Like I really saw so much opportunity in music, and obviously was passionate about the creativity. Like I'm spending time in studios. I've since taken a back. I don't manage artists anymore. I don't manage producers anymore. And I'm not really a part of like creative music making as much as I was. But it's intoxicating, right? It's super intoxicating. The energy that artistry has and creativity has. It's fueled us, man. It's fueled me and the entire team we work with to kind of continue to do what we do, to be honest with you, because it's been a hard journey, man. This stuff doesn't just happen, right? When you talk about 500 artists performing and 300 speakers and all these sessions and events, they don't just happen, right? There's a lot of emailing and conversations and a lot of behind the scenes that blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to put this stuff together.
Yeah, it's a 14-year overnight success story, isn't it?
Sure, exactly, man. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, man, like how long has it been around? This is your first or second year? I'm like, no, this is our 14th year. Thank you very much.
What instantly struck me about the event as well was that attendees don't walk away with conference hangover, where they leave with loads of ideas and no action and then fall back to their old ways. They leave with the event with real improvements. So can you tell me more about the Creator Complex programming and how artists and producers will be able to get a headshot, master music, make beats, record music, record a bio, and so much. And add scratches to their records. It's fantastic what you're doing there.
Thank you, man. Something we're really proud of, and I think you hit the nail on the head, which is the problem we're trying to solve, which is, hey, we got all these awesome creatives here. Sure, they need to learn. Sure, they need to connect. But what also do they need? Some of them just need a freaking headshot. Yeah. Some of them need a new website. And if we're asking people to travel from around the world to come here, we should be thinking about what they need. And again, that's just what we do. We're in the experience business. We're in creating value for people. And I'll be completely honest about, I had to take off my conference hat and put on my manager hat. And I basically was like, I literally just did this exercise. Like, listen, if a conference was in LA, across the country, and I wasn't performing, and me being me managing an artist, and I wasn't performing, what would make me come out there, right? Because I don't think I would buy a ticket and come just for the networking. I don't. So I had to be realistic about, if I'm going to tell artists, and again, I understand a lot of these artists are part-time or struggling, and that's just the nature of being an up-and-coming artist. Like, it's a struggle. And when I say, hey, come to a conference, it's super affordable. It's only $300 for 3 days. Yeah, it's super affordable compared to other conferences, but that's a lot of money. And I'm not talking about flights and the hotel and all that other stuff. So you start talking about thousands of dollars of investments. So I wanted to be able to say, hey, listen, I get it. You're going to come here and network, and you may meet someone and you may not. It depends on who you are. But I can guarantee you that your investment will be returned. And here's where and how. And that was exciting for me and the team to be able to kind of offer real tangible value where they can say to themselves, if I wanted the best photographer in my city to take a headshot of me, that would cost me $500, like that, at least. If I wanted to add scratches to my record, if I could find a DJ to do it, that would cost me $1,000. If I wanted to develop a new website, you can really just start tallying this shit up, and really quickly you're like, oh wow, for $2,000 I can get $5,000 worth of value here. What an amazing investment. And that's on top of all the other stuff you're going to get. So again, I think the creator complex for us was trying to solve the value proposition for artists, man. Like, we really wanted artists to leave A3C with tangible value. And that was really the only way we thought we could do it.
And I read last week that collectively A3C's partners will contribute an estimated $100,000 worth of free services and assets to over 500 artists and producers. That's a phenomenal achievement, isn't it?
When we did the exercise to try to figure out, what is the economic impact and value, when that number, and to be honest with you, that was a low estimation, came across, and this is based on 2017. So we launched this last year. We think we're going to service more artists this year. We think we're going to provide more. So that was kind of a rough. But when that number, when the calculator showed that number, I was kind of awestruck and just thought about it's the kind of, it's the raindrop or butterfly effect or whatever you want to call it, that the impact that could make in someone's life and in just the culture and community. I really think isn't lost on me, because I've managing artists, I understand that struggle. So yeah, man, it's something that's really even emotional for us, because I think we understand that $100,000 is going, it's not a donation to some organization. It's like, this is actually really valuable to these artists. So again, yeah, we're super proud of that. And this is something that we think is just the genesis. Like, we have very big plans for the Creator Complex. This is something I would love to see as a tour. I'd love to see the Creator Complex in the UK for a week. I'd love to see the Creator Complex in LA. Because we're touching a lot of artists, but think about this as a 2 to 5 day experience in a city of just getting all of these creative elements under one roof, and then allowing artists to come in and just think about the impact and change that will make in that city. It's really, I think we're just scratching the surface of what this can be. Because I think when we announced it, people were kind of in disbelief. I think because in music, I think people talk about doing shit like this all the time. They're like, yeah, man, we want to we want to provide free services for artists. I'm like, cool, that's great. I hear a lot about that. So for us to really kind of go out and do it is exciting, and I think again is one of the most exciting, one of the things I'm most excited about, just to be frank, because I think we're just scratching the surface of what this is going to be.
So for anyone listening, can you just expand on some of those creative partners that you have in place for the event this year?
Sure. So, and I'll be frank, like we pick these partners working backwards, right? Here's another thing. So we review 1,000 to 2,000 artists through Sonic bids every year that submit to us, right? And they submitted EPK. So we understand the importance of a well-written bio or a headshot, because when you're comparing not a dozen artists, but when you're comparing hundreds and then sometimes thousands of artists against each other to select an artist, you realize that it's the little things that matter, right? If artist A sounds good and has a bad headshot, and artist B sounds good and has a good headshot, who are you going to select? Artist B. Yeah. So we understand the value of these things, but we really work backwards, not from the partners, but from the experiences. And we said, okay, artists and producers, what do they need, right? What is real value to them? So a really clean, creative website. And we've partnered with Landing Line, which is an Atlanta-based company, to help build websites. And again, you can walk in without a website and leave with a website. Right? That's not, that sounds crazy, but it's real. Bring these elements, a logo, a bio, your photos, your social accounts, and you can leave with a website. One of my favorite photography and videography crews in Atlanta will be doing headshots. So Motion Family will be setting up for an entire day. They are some of the most talented and prolific photographers and videographers in hip hop. So to be able to have them as partners is really, really awesome. So you're not coming in and getting a headshot from me, you're getting a headshot from the best photographer in Atlanta. Lander is going to be mastering projects. So you're going to come in, you can have up to 15 tracks, and you'll leave with a mastered album, right? Again, just super dope. We can edit your bio. You do have to come in with a bio, but Wish Creative Media, which is a PR agency for artists, will review, consult, and edit your bio and or press release if you have a press release coming up. But I think, how many bios have we seen in all caps, misspellings, irrelevant? And we're kind of like, hey, listen, if a press or a fan wants to get to know you, you have to be able to have that in a bio format. A couple other just really cool, I think, creative stations. So Sounds, Akai, and Native Instruments are all doing just creative sessions, remix sessions, beat making sessions. Scratch DJ Academy is bringing in some of Atlanta's best scratch DJs, and you can bring your record and we'll scratch it. YouTube's going to be there, optimizing your YouTube page. So again, just in terms of sheer value, if you have a YouTube page and it's just up and it's running and you don't know really what to do with it, you can leave there with, new metadata tags or playlists and all these things that, directly from YouTube partners. And then a new experience we launched this year, which I think is going to be fun, creative, and new, is literally a co-writing room, right? So this is sign up to be involved. We're going to put producers, songwriters, artists in the same room, and we're making music from sync call sheets, right? So the industry sends out, hey, we need music that sounds like X, Y, and Z. We've partnered with Gray Matter Collective, and they're going to be working with people, again, that submit for the whole day to create new music. And this music can be monetized. You can literally walk away with a songwriting credit and a potential placement. I mean, so that's, I think I touched on everything. There's also, we're also doing social media audits and changes. So Social Work from New York is coming in town, and they're going to be basically, hey, pull up all your social accounts. Let's go through them. Let's make sure that, are the profile pictures up? Are they foggy? Have you checked your handles? Are you using hashtags? That type of stuff. So again, just walking away with real tangible value that you can kind of use and help to change your life, really.
It's great to see how you're connecting content creators, entrepreneurs, all with media industry professionals. And it seems as well it's both crucial and valuable, not just to yourselves, of course, but Atlanta and equally the global community visiting you guys. Was that always in the heart of everything you set out to achieve?
Again, probably not day one, but I think I really like to, I do probably 3 months of reflection after every year and really try to talk to people, because I think at the end of the day, we have to keep evolving and looking at what does the community want? I mean, this is an event that we produce for ourselves, right? So I think we have to look at who should we be connecting, who needs to know each other, and how can we do that in a positive way? So next year we might be trying to do something different, depending on where the industry changes and where things go. But yeah, I mean, connection is a key element of what we do. But I think the layer beneath that is really being strategic about who needs to connect with who, right? Yeah. How do we connect? So producers and artists is a key example. And one of the experiences we have at the at our actual conference center, which it was so good at the Creator Complex last year that we moved it in the conference center, and we're doing a lot more of it, which is producer artist listening sessions. Seems fairly basic, right? But music doesn't work without a producer and artist. Like, that's the two elements of making music in hip hop. So we sit down for an hour and a half, 8 to 10 producers at a conference table, and artists just file and funnel down a row and listen to the producer's beats. They tell them what kind of music they make. They may play 1 minute of their song or say, I'm looking for something like this. But out of that experience, think about all the new music and new relationships that are getting made, as opposed to just shaking someone's hand or saying, hey, listen, I'm a producer, I'm an artist. Cool, that's great. You may never meet, you may never send your stuff. We're being proactive and saying, listen, we know producers and artists want to meet. Really, the meeting for a producer and artist is playing beats. If there's synergy. So after that hour and a half, because it's super quick, right? We want you to just listen beats, make notes, have a little notepad, make notes, And then after the hour and a half, come back and network and say, go back to that producer or artist and say, listen, I really liked your stuff. I really want to work with you. Right. So that's just a real core example of us identifying a need and being proactive about how to connect those two groups of people.
It really does seem like a fantastic opportunity for a hip-hop artist to get their hands on over $100,000 worth of services. And that's just phenomenal on its own. So I'm kind of curious, do you have any stats on how far and wide attendees come to travel to the event?
Yeah, no, I mean, we've had folks come from Korea and, Latin America, Africa, South Africa. People really are coming from all over. We have a decent community from the UK. We actually have and have had for the last couple of years a UK-based showcase. Our friends from the North, Canada, comes pretty deep. But yeah, it's always surprising and really exciting to see folks from around the world really come and connect. And I think they get a unique experience. We've heard some pretty funny experiences of people that have never been to Atlanta, but obviously know the city and the brand really well. And I think it's funny to hear what their expectations of the city are, because when they think of Atlanta, they think of hip hop. It's synonymous in a lot of countries. It's like, it's not removed from the culture. Atlanta is hip hop. So when they come here, they really fully expect to meet Ludacris in the airport and, to have their Uber driver be a rapper and a producer. And it's funny, man, just because some of those expectations are completely met and some of them are completely off base, right? So it's funny to hear a lot of first-time Atlanta travelers and their experience in Atlanta.
Fantastic. Well, before I let you go, obviously I've got to ask, where and when is it? It's in Atlantic. Can you tell me the venue, when it is, and how much tickets are?
Sure. So it's coming up. It's in October 3 through 7 in Atlanta, Georgia. We are a citywide event. Our focus is downtown Atlanta, Georgia. So our festival, which is a 2-day outdoor experience with, legends like Wu-Tang Clan, Lil Wayne, Manny Fresh, are performing live with some of our favorite up-and-coming artists, specifically from Atlanta, like JID and Childish Major, Young M.A. and Currency and a bunch of other artists. And that's at the Georgia Freight Depot. Our conference centers, we have 3 different conference hubs that are all in downtown Atlanta. But really the shows and events and parties take place across the city. And we are in about 20 different venues around Atlanta, Georgia. And, I would say 5 years ago when we were trying to be Atlanta event, it was very tough, but Uber and Lyft have made it a lot easier. So, when you're saying to someone, hey, it's a 10-minute cab ride or a 30-minute walk or 45-minute walk is different than saying, just hop in an Uber, man. It's not a big deal. So that has really expanded our footprint. Just ride sharing in general has allowed us to open up new venues and new spaces in Atlanta.
So could you also remind the listeners of where they can find you guys online, check out your website, contact a member of your team, etc.?
Yeah. So our website is www.a3cfestival.com. You can find really all the information there. On Instagram, we are at A3C Festival. On Twitter, we are at A3C. And on Facebook, we're at /A3C Festival. So just the story behind all those websites and different names, we've been historically the A3C Festival, which was kind of our over-encompassing name, but it really wasn't, it didn't suit us, right? We didn't really even have an outdoor event. We were just in a bunch of different shows and festival was the only name that fit. But in 2013 or 12, we were producing a lot of conference, sessions and speakers. So we obviously changed our name to the A3C Festival and Conference and have tried to revert just to being, hey, A3C, right? Yeah. But when you have Instagram handles and that you can't change, you ride with it. So we're A3C Festival on Instagram, A3C Festival on Facebook, and on IG or on Twitter, we're at A3C. So, if you know anyone on Instagram and can help us change that, that'd be great.
Cool. Well, the only thing we've not talked about, of course, is if when you go home tonight, are there several boxes of Atlanta hot sauce waiting in there? Whatever happened to the hot sauce?
So it still exists. It's still around. A good buddy of mine is now running it. I occasionally will put it on my wings at a restaurant and always get a chuckle when I ask the waiter if they have Atlanta hot sauce. So it's around, but it's a really niche Atlanta thing. I don't think, I mean, people order it for weddings and stuff, but outside of that, there's probably a couple dozen restaurants in Atlanta that serve it. But it's just more of a fun story that I share with friends and always bring a bottle where I'm going.
Fantastic. Well, like I said before we started recording the show today, I am coming to Atlanta in February, so maybe we can meet up somewhere and get a bottle of that off you. That would be a fantastic story.
That would be. I would love that.
Well, I always say at the end of every show, technology works best when it brings people together. And you're bringing people from all over the world together here and really making a difference to their lives and their careers as hip-hop artists. So a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man.
Mike was telling me off air there that there is no conference, festival or organisation that has developed anything like this creator complex, and that he's rightly immensely proud of the impact that it's going to have on artists' lives, because it offers real results. And I love how you can attend and walk away with a headshot, bio, develop a website, optimise your YouTube, audit your social media, and so much more. And another reason I think this particularly resonates with me is because I'm close to releasing my own course, which will enable anybody to launch their own podcast. Now, I say a course, that's just one tiny aspect of it, because it's also working one-to-one with me, where I'll give you the direction that you need and hold your hand through every step of the process. And I'll also edit 8 podcast episodes for every student that enrolls. Why? Because it's incredibly important to me, because I don't just want people to learn how to launch a podcast and then go away and do nothing with it. I want them to work directly with me and release their own show with 8 episodes, real results. So we're not done until you've got a podcast release with 8 episodes out there. Not just information and a pat on your back and say thanks for your money. So I hope that this is a trend that we see more and more of. But enough of my rambling. This isn't about me. This is about you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any experiences you've had and also your thoughts on today's podcast. And as always, I'm the world's easiest guy to find. You can email me techblogwriter@outlook.com or tweet me @NeilC.Hughes. So I better get back to editing the videos for this course, and I'll return tomorrow with another great guest. So a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.